getting people outdoors during Earth Day. I think one of the things that I also share is that, you don't need to be part of some big, movement for Earth Day. Like Earth Day for different people might also just look like spending some time outdoors, getting to know, a local park or a local trail or whatever that might look like, and just taking some time to like slow down and interact with the earth and with the environment.
What do you do when you come out as LGBTQ and love the outdoors? What do you do when you see outdoor spaces ruled by older white cis men and desire a diverse community of outdoor lovers? Accept it, change it, create it. I am Justin Yoder, and this is LGBTQ Outdoors. Hey everyone, I am Justin Yoder.
And I'm Patrick Thompson.
And this is the LGBTQ Outdoors podcast. We are grateful that you are joining us today for another great episode, kind of focused around Earth Day.
Yes,
so
it's important.
Excited about that. And we have an amazing guest that we're going to get to in a little bit.
Big time.
But we have a couple updates, news that we want to go over before we dive in. I'm going to touch, which one do you want to take?
I'll do LGBTQ Outdoor Fest.
Okay. Go for it.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about
You're going to go ahead and talk about it.
About LGBTQ Outdoor Fest. In very, very short terms, you go back and listen to our podcast and you'll find out all about it because we talk about it nonstop. But it's worth talking about.
It's so awesome.
Though. Yeah, totally worth it. Essentially, we bring people together from across the country. Last year, literally from around the world. We had a guest from Norway come. And it is 4 days of queer community getting together, hanging out, learning not only about our community, but also like about the outdoors, getting to try out new activities that you've always been a little bit nervous to dip your toe into without having to invest in like gear and equipment and all that stuff. So you get to try it out. But the real takeaway that just sort of happened is the community and the fellowship and the connection. There's something I call it Outdoor Fest magic that happens when we all get together and we're in a safe place and we get to let our guard down and be like completely authentic and legit. And it's just really special. So it's become an annual thing. We're doing it this year up in the great state of New York, September 11th through the 15th.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous property. They've been working with us, and we've been working behind the scenes to put all this together under the leadership of the great Josh McNabb and friends and that big old committee. So we're super excited. You can find out more about it at lgbtqoutdoors.com/outdoorfest.
Yeah, and I mean, and to me, in a nutshell, a great way to describe it is kind of like a queer summer camp for adults, and who doesn't want that, right? Yeah, it just sounds amazing. I do want to point out two guests that we have coming. We have our instructors, and I think that it'd be cool to highlight some as we get closer. Yep. But we have more. But the two that I want to point out that are coming is one is Brad Ryan and Grandma Joy this year. So I believe she's 95 years old.
And still kicking and feisty as ever, and she's amazing.
And coming to LGBTQ Outdoor Fest.
Yes.
So if you want to meet her, she has traveled the world, all the national parks, and more. She's going to be there. So she has a wealth of wisdom, and it's just, I feel like in Grandma Joy's term would be a hoot.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's totally fair. Totally fair. She's a hoot.
So both of them are going to be there. It's going to be great. And then one other one that I want to point out is Justin Bickley from Alaska is going to be coming. He is
also a hoot.
He is also a hoot. He is an ambassador for LGBTQ Outdoors, and a great friend of ours. He also helps us with the Alaska adventure trip with pack rafting. So he's going to be doing a workshop on pack rafting. So it's going to be amazing.
Can't wait.
All right. Also, we have been touching on this a little bit, but this is a brand new aspect of LGBTQ Outdoors that I'm excited about, and it's been growing and taking off really well. And that is the 100 Mile Club.
Yes.
When basically what the 100 Mile Club is it's a way for you to challenge yourself, maybe compete against others a little bit, and see how many miles you can get in a year or however long you want to go with it, really. Everybody joins the LGBTQ Outdoors Club on Strava, which is an app that tracks your miles, whether you're hiking, biking, walking, rowing, whatever it is. When you sign up, you get a t-shirt. You also get to be a part of the community. We put you on our website that you're a part of the club, and you start going. And then every time you hit 100 miles, you get a challenge coin. And if you are watching on YouTube right now, I'm trying to hold it up so you can see. This is what they look like. So this is the 100 Mile Club. It's going to be a little bit out of focus, I think, but you get an idea of what they look like. And then the 200 mile one. And so far, and they go all the way up to 1,000 miles.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And so it goes through all the progressive flag colors. Each one is a different progressive flag color. There's 10 of them. And the last one is the black 1,000 mile one. So it's a fun new thing that we're doing. So you can head over to the website, get all the details, sign up, and be a part of that as well. Awesome.
Yeah.
We ready to jump in with our guest?
Yes. Yes, we are. Super excited. I think we're going to learn a lot. Our guest is Joe Toolan. Joe is Justicia y Equidad Fund Director at Green Latinos. Since 2022, his team has awarded $23 million to frontline environmental justice communities, organizations, and leaders to achieve a more just future. He earned his bachelor degree in geographical sciences with a concentration in environment systems and natural resource management from the University of Maryland, College Park, and an executive certificate in nonprofit management from Georgetown University. Joe is the chair of Annapolis Pride, the co-chair of Indigenous Inclusion Workshop for the State of Maryland Commission for LGBTQIA+ affairs, where he served as the first chair from 2021 to 2023. He is a vice president of the board of Defensores de la Cuenca, which is the Watershed Defenders, and served on the board of Adoptees with Guatemalan Roots and Out for Sustainability. Joe is also a senior fellow with the Environmental Leadership Program. Joe, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. I was stalking you a little bit on Instagram and kind of like doing some research, and I clicked on your link tree. Yeah, and it just goes on and on. And there's articles, there's interviews, like there's like a lengthy list of really all the badass stuff that you're out there doing, tackling inequity and injustice on many fronts. Including environmental impact. So like you've got it all covered, and we're really grateful for you to give us some of your time, and we can hopefully learn a couple things. So thanks for being here.
Of course. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I think we're all going to be educated. I that's one of the goals, right, with the podcast, is to bring education to all of our community and everything. And I think that just the little bit that I've already known about Joe is like, I kind of just want to sit back and just let him run the show. And like, you have the floor, Joe. But I know that we're going to learn a lot. I know that we want to also celebrate Earth Day and everything that comes along with that as well. But we're living in interesting times. We have a lot going on. Joe is very knowledgeable, and so we're going to dive in and learn about you. And again, like Patrick said, thank you for being here. But to start off, in your own words, just tell us a little bit about who you are, like who you are, where you grew up, anything fun like that you'd like to share with us to kind of get the audience connected with who you are.
Sure. Yeah. So I currently live in Annapolis, Maryland, not too far outside of DC. I've been here for probably 5 or 6 years, but I grew up in a smaller area of Maryland called Pasadena, Maryland. Very different than Pasadena, California, which I think a lot of people have heard about. But um, and fun fact, I guess I'm adopted. So I was born in Guatemala in 1996, and I was adopted like when I was a child, 3 months old, here to a family in Maryland. And I think a lot of my connection to the outdoors really comes from that upbringing, and I can talk a little bit more about that in a little bit as well. But through being outdoors, I think learned a lot more about myself and what interests me. And I think as we talk about Earth Day and kind of protecting the environment, one of the things I always say is that I was very privileged to have access to the outdoors from a very young age. And a lot of the work that I do now really is to help ensure that other people have safe access to outdoor spaces. And, for some people, especially in the Latino community, that might be, like a small park that's down the road from them. And it's not going to be, the same access that other people might have had growing up in a lot of spaces. And so, I consider myself a leader in a lot of the issues, I guess, that I care about, both part of the LGBTQ plus community, part of the environmental community. I do a lot of advocacy around adoption and kind of how that has affected me as a person. And just am really involved in making sure that folks that have been marginalized in some way have a space to find out who they are and be themselves. So that's a quick background.
Yeah, no, I love that. Fun fact for me, to go with your fun fact, the first country I ever went to outside of the U.S. was Guatemala. So that's interesting.
That's awesome.
Have you been back?
I have. So I guess more fun facts to my story. During the pandemic, as I think a lot of us all of a sudden were faced with a lot of free time by ourselves, I started the process of reconnecting with my birth family. So I met them, gosh, I guess it's been about 3 years ago now. And I've been back once a year, every year since then, to connect with them, explore more of the country. And it's a beautiful country. I think it gets a bad rep quite often. And just like other, cities and areas, there's definitely parts of the country that you do have to be careful in. But a lot of it is also safe to explore and travel. And it's beautiful. It's also like the one time of year where I go away and I basically say, like, you're not going to get a hold of me. I am on vacation. And so I feel like it's sort of like my happy place now. It's gorgeous.
Nice.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's been a few years since I've been there. I was 16 back in 1998 when I went. But one of the places that I really remember is Antigua up in the mountains. Mm-hmm. And it was just absolutely stunning and amazing place to visit. So I love that fact about you. I'm curious, like, because you said that you are adopted, a little bit more of your story with that and coming out, because a lot of people, obviously in the LGBTQ community often aren't accepted by their biological parents. I'm curious to what your story was like on that.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. And so it's definitely been a journey. I grew up in a Catholic family here. And so, honestly, I heard from a very young age that, like, being gay was bad. It was not, accepted in the community that I grew up in. It was not, frankly, like something that was talked well about, even in the house that I grew up in. And so that journey was hard. I didn't come out until I was in college. So, I would say that's a little bit late for people my age. Like, I think a lot of people my age came out in like high school or middle school even, and were like pretty open. There was definitely a few people in high school that were out, and I was not at the time. And when I did come out, it definitely caused a little bit of a strain on my relationship with my adopted family here. I feel like they've learned some, and in some ways have come around, but I know that it's something that still, I think, is hard for them to understand. And so there's a little bit of a rift there. But like, you work through it slowly and hopefully things get better. It's really interesting though, because my birth family, when I met them, there was this moment of like oh, do I tell them or not? Because Guatemala obviously is a very different country. Um, Definitely a lot more conservative maybe than like here. And when I met my birth mom, one of the first things that was in like a letter, basically, because they sent a letter, was that she was evangelical. And I was like, oh no, like, is this going to be okay? And so my first meeting with my birth family was actually on Zoom. And there was a translator there, and my Spanish is better now, but I'm still practicing. It's a whole thing. But I remember at the end of the call, I was basically like, I have to tell her that I'm like gay because it is part of my identity. I don't hide who I am. And I remember the translator stopped and he was like, are you sure you want me to tell her this? And I was like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I do. And like, clearly it is not as accepted there. Like this person who is really just there to translate kind of stopped and was like, do you actually want me to say this? And so I was like, yes, because for me, I've done so much work to come to terms with who I am. And to be honest, like this person, even though she's my birth mom, is still a stranger to me. And so if I'm going to build a genuine relationship with her, like I'm not going to hide who I am. And so I remember him saying it. It definitely was like surprising to them, I think. And then I have two sisters in Guatemala also who I've just met through this whole process. And one of them was like, honestly, we stalked you online just like people can do. And she was like, so we're not surprised, you know, like we sort of knew that was the story. And I was like, okay, like cool, like we're over that. But they've also been nothing but accepted. And the way that my birth mom ended up responding was sort of like, you know, God doesn't make mistakes. So you are the way that you are because that's how God made you.
Wow.
And like that, it was almost like her saying that was like fixing this long coded like history of like what God does or doesn't accept. And so it was crazy. It's been quite a journey. And I feel like while my adopted family is still like working through some of this, like my birth family actually has been super accepting and like, you know, we're just building that relationship now, which is crazy.
So cool.
I just think that it's incredible. I mean, how easily it could have been to be not tell them, especially the first time that you had that meeting with them on Zoom. Like it could have been like, I want to try to build a relationship with them first and like get that connection going, but you laid it right out there from the beginning. So I think that that's incredible. And I'm glad that your journey is, you know, it might not be the easiest or the most smooth that you want, but it seems like it's progressing in good ways. And so very happy for you with that. When it comes to the outdoor side of things, how did you start getting plugged into the outdoors and what started causing your love for the outdoors and the environment?
Yeah, so like I said, I grew up in sort of a smaller town here in Maryland. And so we had 3 acres of land that was like, that's what my parents owned. And there was a lot of it, frankly, like it was mostly woods and then the house around it. And so from a very young age, I just had access to being outside, could go outside. My dad's a big hunter. And so like, you know, he taught me how to hunt from a very young age. I don't really do it anymore. Also, I'm very busy with all of the other things that I do, but that was like the type of house that I grew up in, just like learning to be outdoors, to respect the environment, and really just that connection was crazy. We also had a boat, so like we would go out crabbing, fishing, like all of the things. And I think that was where I really, for the first time, just like understood the beauty of nature, like being out in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay, you know, sometimes super early in the morning, watching the sunrise. Like there's nothing that brings that level of peace to being outside and just like watching, you know, fish, you know, come out of the water, watching birds fly around, like all of that really, I think, inspired me from a very young age, to be interested in the environment. And to be honest, I don't think I saw myself in this space for a very long time. I actually took an environmental science class in high school, and that was the first time where I think it was my teacher, and she was just like, you can like do stuff like this as your career. And I was like, I've never thought of it that way, And so, that was the first thing that got me more set on like, I can do environmental stuff as my, day job and my career. And so, like I said, I've been very lucky because I grew up in a place where I could just go outside. And to be honest, I loved going by myself for walks through the woods. Like I said, I grew up in a community that I was very different, like I was one of the only people of color. I was one of the only queer people. And so when I got to go outside by myself and just kind of like wander outside, that was when like all of the societal expectations could like just disappear, Yeah. And so that was sort of the initial piece there of my connection with nature.
Wow. So from a high school teacher in environmental science class, have you happened to keep up with this teacher at all? Does this teacher know all the badass things that you're doing?
I don't know. I really should reach out. So I was in the STEM program for high school. So our county has like a STEM magnet program. And I don't keep up with that teacher anymore. But I should try to reconnect with her.
I bet she'd be pretty dang excited and proud of you, for sure. So that sort of kickstarted your interest and your passion about it, to steal a term from Disney. I don't know, maybe Disney didn't originate it, but environmentality. And now you're working with Green Latinos, and what total white boy translation of this? Justicia y Equidad Fund. Am I saying that properly?
Justicia y Equidad Fund.
Justicia y Equidad. Okay.
Yep.
I had that white boy J in there. So you're involved with that, doing big things. Tell us what's going on with that.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been at Green Latinos probably for about a year and a half. So I haven't been there for really that long, but I would say that I started my professional career working at like quasi-governmental entities. So like almost every job that I had before Green Latinos was like its own nonprofit that was created either by like the state of Maryland or by the federal government. And so there was a lot of like, you can say these things and you can't say these things. And that is very like baked into some of the work that I was doing for a long time. And so I went to Green Latinos. It was sort of because I got to this point of saying, we need to be bolder about how we're doing some of this environmental conservation work, especially in communities that don't have the same resources that other communities have. And so Green Latinos, their mission really is to bring together Latino leaders and really create meaningful change in ways that is very different than other groups. So there's kind of three pillars of our work. One is advocacy. One is resource intermediary, and that's a lot of the work that I leading our grant making fund. And then also being a convener, so bringing together people across the country who are doing this work. And so the fund that I manage, it started a couple years ago. It actually started a year before I started at Green Latinos. And the first year it was really small. It was about $100,000 that was dedicated for, frankly, like general operating support for small nonprofit organizations serving frontline Latino communities. And when I came on board at Green Latinos, we were awarded a really large $25 million federal fund to re-grant funding out the door. And so obviously we're in a little bit of an interesting time with that right now, but we also have some other funders who have kind of come on board to help get money out the door. So we're working with groups like Bezos Earth Fund, also Ocean Kind is another ocean kind of focused nonprofit organization. We Act for Environmental Justice is another funder. And the goal of this fund really is to get money directly into the hands of Latino community-based organizations that are doing great work. A lot of the work is really centered around urban greening work, so getting trees planted in cities that are low on tree canopy. And, when we talk about the work that we're doing, I like to think of it, I don't even say like it's bipartisan, like it's nonpartisan work. You can even ask, we were working with some mayors even in like Republican districts, and they can say things like, if I'm walking in my city and it's 15 degrees hotter in one area because there's no trees, like that's a problem. And the goal is really to increase the tree canopy, make it cooler for people, doing community gardens, doing workforce development to train people how to take care of trees, maintenance, all of those things. And so, we've been really lucky that we've been able to get so much money right back out the door to our community-based organizations and the groups that we're working with. And we're kind of funding all across the country. We have some, I would say, like target zones that we're funding in. So like California, we have a lot of projects. We have a lot of projects in and around Illinois, New Mexico, Arizona, and actually Puerto Rico. That one's kind of a cool place to fund. And one of the projects actually that we're working on, their goal is actually to replant a lot of trees that were lost during Hurricane Maria, which happened a couple years ago. I think a lot of people remember that. And there's been no support really to replant a lot of the trees that were lost there. So it kind of spreads across the country in all kinds of different communities, and it's really, really cool work. And so, it's been really great to sort of be on the other side. I have to say, the one thing that's really cool is most of my coworkers, they join Green Latinos because they're from communities that have been directly affected by environmental injustice. And so I feel like I've come into it from a little bit of a different perspective, actually. But it's really cool.
That's really amazing to hear everything that you guys are doing. I would assume that you probably are doing a lot with Earth Day, but for you guys, it's like Earth Day every day of the year.
Yeah. It is, but I can say this weekend in particular, we have like it's called a Building Each Other Up chat that we send stuff in, and like all weekend, my coworkers are out doing events, sending pictures and videos and all of the things, and so it is cool to see that.
I love that. Nice. What challenges and breakthroughs are you seeing, like with the LGBTQ plus community and representation among like Green Latinos? Like, when it comes to LGBTQ outdoors, a lot of times we'll have people look at our photos that we post online and be like, well, there's a lot of white people, and it's like, we want diversity, and we can't control who comes to our events, and we try hard to show representation, especially like on our website and marketing stuff, because we want to encourage everybody that's a part of the LGBTQ community to get involved. But I'm curious with like Green Latinos, like, and the LGBTQ community, do you see a lot of intersection going on with that? And is there a way that you guys try to encourage diversity within your organization?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, I would say, in the larger Latino community, and probably like not surprising is that, because frankly, like a lot of us are raised in very conservative households, I think there's still some barriers in general to greater LGBTQ representation in our communities. However, Green Latinos, I praise so much for. There's somebody who I knew from a couple years ago who was working there, who's non-binary, and who has just grown so much at Green Latinos. And so when I was thinking about joining Green Latinos, like I already knew there was at least one queer person on staff that had been there for years that really enjoyed the work. And when I joined Green Latinos, I found out that there were more queer people on staff at Green Latinos. We encourage not just our staff, but all of our members to, for example, like include their pronouns on Zoom when we're meeting online. And so there's sometimes very small things that are in place that really do help signal that it is a safe place to be queer in our organization. And I think that I've always felt supported by our coworkers and most of our members. You know, like I run a nonprofit that supports the LGBTQ community outside of work. And so it is really important that type of environment exists in these organizations. I will say, I think one of the challenges continues to be how we educate our members around being inclusive. Like, we can set the standards when we're hosting events, when we're hosting webinars, when we're in person. We do an annual summit together where we bring a lot of leaders from across the country together. And those are easy places to like set a safe place to be. I think it becomes harder when we're trying to also teach our members how to be more inclusive in the work that they're doing and maybe the policies that they have in place. And so, you know, that becomes a challenge. I think when you talk about issues in the Latino community also, I think there's a lot of anti-Blackness that exists in the community. I feel like, unfortunately, with where we're at as a country, like if we're not fighting together, like we're all going to lose. And so I think there's a lot of other issues that sort of intersect LGBTQ identity and, you know, racism and all of these things that, you know, we are really struggling on, like, how do you have these conversations with people in a meaningful way? But we've done a lot of work to really make our spaces as inclusive as possible.
And like, it's such a hard thing to do. It you know, we can have, you know, diverse attendees, like, you know, all over our website, and say that, like, anybody can say that, you know, yeah, you're welcome. But I think there's just this natural skepticism, you know, but am I really welcome? You know, and I think it takes, for those of us who are like screaming for inclusion, what we have to be like full throttle, like on the gas, full steam ahead inclusion, and, you know, make no apologies for it. And, you know, it is a challenge for sure, to get that message to the right people, and present the message in such a way to where, like, it's believable, because inclusivity is a harder message for like two white cisgendered guys on a podcast to be, like, you know, preaching, you know. And so when we do have diverse voices, you know, gender, you know, racial background, historical background, like whatever ability, you know, getting those voices out there is a big deal and important. We're going to take a quick little break, so that we can give a little shout out to our sponsors, but we will be right back.
If you're looking for high-quality tents, sleeping bags, or backpacks at a price you can afford, well, look no further. We're proud to partner with Sierra Designs, a leading provider of innovative outdoor gear. Outside of offering high-quality, premier outdoor apparel and gear, Sierra Designs supports game-changing organizations like LGBT Outdoors. To learn more, visit their website, sierradesigns.com, and enter code LGBT Outdoors to receive 25% off your entire purchase. This episode of the LGBT Outdoors podcast is brought to you by the Monterey Bay Aquarium, where you can experience the wonder beneath the waves and celebrate your connection to the ocean. Join Monterey Bay Aquarium in advocating for a healthy ocean. Together, we can tackle climate change and stop plastic pollutions at the source. Sign up for the Ocean Action email to learn how you can protect the oceans that connect us all at montereybayaquarium.org/act.
And we're back with the LGBTQ podcast here with Justin and our fantastic guest, Joe, talking about all things environment and diversity and inclusion. But let's talk Earth Day. Big deal, important. What are some ways that the average person can get involved to support Earth Day, to make an impact, and actually make something happen? That's a big question.
It is. I think there's a variety of ways that folks can be involved with Earth Day. I would say get to know some local nonprofits. I know so many groups in the area that are doing different types of like Earth Day cleanups or Earth Day events, just getting people outdoors during Earth Day. I think one of the things that I also share is that, you don't need to be part of some big, movement for Earth Day. Like Earth Day for different people might also just look like spending some time outdoors, getting to know, a local park or a local trail or whatever that might look like. And just taking some time to like slow down and interact with the earth and with the environment. I think I've had this thought quite a bit that we as like people, especially here in the United States, are just so focused on work and getting things done and like all of these other things that sometimes we forget to like slow down and actually like thank the earth for everything that it provides to us. And I think for me, a big part of Earth Day is also that reminder that we sort of have a duty to make sure that we're protecting and saving the planet from some of the harms that we're doing. And so, yeah, there's nonprofits that are probably doing cleanups. There might be nonprofits that are having events, but it can also be as simple as getting outdoors and slowing down and appreciating the environment. I think it's great that it's in the spring also because, it's stuff is blooming for the first time, like it's really an interesting time. I am on my apartment. I'm on the third floor. And so there's some big trees out here. And I think every day I wake up and I'm like, oh, there's a little bit more foliage on the tree leaves and just appreciating seeing as things shift throughout the year. And so I think those are the biggest things. I think if you can't get outdoors and you don't want to go do a cleanup, because going out and getting dirty and doing cleanups is not for everybody.
Sure.
There's always nonprofits that you can donate to or, provide maybe monetary compensation to. And so I think those are the easiest ways for people to really get involved. There's so many groups across the country that are doing really important work that really need support now. I mean, I think, especially given what's happening at the federal level, like there are a lot of organizations that are not going to have as much support as they've had in the past. And so I think now's a great time to see how you can get involved and support different organizations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I like how you mentioned that just going out and being in the outdoors is a valid way to celebrate Earth Day, especially. I like the poetry of the spring, and you get to see like how resilient and powerful nature and the outdoors can be, like literally coming back to life after a dead winter. And I think that there's like a really strong kind of magic vibe there. It's really neat.
Yeah, sure. I also like just from our being involved with the LGBTQ Outdoors in our position, and we see all these chapters that we have around the U.S. and hearing about just we talk about the weather and what's going on in these different areas, and it can be casual talk, but at the same time, it's just cool to think about how the Earth works, even just right here in the United States, because like. This week, I had a meeting with Cherie, our ambassador program manager, who's in New Hampshire. And I was talking about how I needed to get out and mow the yard. And she's like, it's dumping 3 inches of snow on us right now. And it's just like, like if we didn't have people that we knew all around the country, like a lot of times we wouldn't even be thinking about that. We'd be just like, oh, it's time to start mowing the yard again. And wildflowers are starting to come up and all that kind of stuff. But like in other parts of the country, and Colorado just got snow yesterday. And so while on the recording, which we don't release the same day, but it's just amazing to see how the world works. Also, climate change is a huge thing that is coming into play that we need to be thinking about, I think, when it comes around Earth Day and what we can do as far as like the environment on recycling and litter cleanup. And it's amazing because we've done events where we've gone to parks right around the Dallas-Fort Worth area and done cleanups and had trash bag after trash bag after trash bag that was full. And it's like, what is going on that people just feel like they can come out here on a hike and just toss a plastic bottle into the woods or whatever? It's just mind-blowing. And I love what Leave No Trace is doing. And if people don't know about Leave No Trace, look it up, get involved with them too. Because we need to be taking care of the earth a lot better than we are. Yeah.
And the sad tragedy behind that is, like, these people are out hiking. You're going to assume that they have some sort of appreciation for the outdoors. And yet there they are, just like, throwing their beer cans and, styrofoam coolers, and just, I'm like, why? Like, it's so frustrating.
It's really hard. It's something that I think a lot about. I think, especially when it comes from like working in underserved communities too, like there are some people that they don't think about that at all in some of the work that happens. And one of the projects that I spent some time on, this was probably like 4 or 5 years ago now, was around illegal dumping here in Maryland. And there was some specific communities where you just had like, 20, 30, 40 tires that would just randomly get dumped in different places. And, in some people's mind, it's just easy they just want to get rid of it. Like, I want to get rid of it. They're not thinking about the effects that it has in other spaces. And so, some of it is very just depends on the mindset at the time. I did a bunch of work around behavior change in particular. And like that topic as a whole really affects like how people act in the environment and the way that, there's access to different things. And so like, if there's not a trash can, people are less likely to get rid of stuff. And you're not going to have trash cans out in every single place where, people are trying to recreate outdoors. So it's interesting. I don't know if there's a solution, but it's an interesting conversation for sure.
Yeah. I don't know what the solution is either. Or like you said, if there is one, but I know for the rest of us that are responsible and do love the outdoors, like hosting some friends, do a barbecue in a park and go clean it up while you're there. Even if you pick up one trash bag, if all of us that are really passionate about the outdoors would do something like that, we can make a difference.
So like one of our Fort Worth ambassador, Kenneth, first time we went out hiking with him, like, and it wasn't like an event, it wasn't a litter cleanup, but we're just hiking. And as we're going along, he's picking up things that he finds on the trail. Like the goal was to hike, but he's helping out and pitching in just along the way. Like that's part of his experience. And that was really convicting to me. I was like, ooh, okay, so we're not going to walk by stuff anymore. Done.
Yeah, definitely. We got some good people that's a part of our organization.
We do. We do. They keep me in check.
And like seeing, I hope that there are 1,000 Joes out there too, just making a difference. Like we need more people to rise up in leadership and environment and in pride events. Cause I know that you do a lot with pride as well. I just saw, this is kind of a little bit of a twist, but I just saw yesterday that you had, which pride is it that you're involved with?
Annapolis Pride.
Annapolis. Yeah. And you were doing like a training for like, I should let you speak on it more, but like
it was like a crisis response training. Yeah. And I think that it's hard because, I don't think we ever want to think that like something bad will happen at like a pride event. Obviously it's already happened. Like you think about, unfortunately, like the shooting that happened at Pulse nightclub. There are people that target certain people for whatever reason. And so I feel like this year our board has taken it very seriously that, we need to continue to educate ourselves just in case. Like, we hope we never have to do anything that we've learned in these trainings, but it is really important. And I've gotten a lot of calls this year from people who are just worried, like, I got a call even from somebody from the county executive's office, and they said, hey, some of our staff, like, they're a little bit worried to participate. And, if people at our county executive's office are feeling that way, like, people, like regular people are also feeling that way. And so,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of education that we can do to hopefully protect ourselves too.
Agreed. And I think you guys are doing a great job at that. I'm not one that ever wants to tell people how they feel or what they should do, really. But I also want to put it out there that, 2025 is a bizarre year to say the least. But I would encourage people to still be sure that you are getting to your Pride events. Like, representation is important, and not letting them win and push us back, letting our pride shine. And if you're someone that is incredibly scared and you don't feel like you can, then you do what you have to do for you. But I would encourage those that can and feel like they are able to get out there and really let your pride show this year, and surround it with joy. It's a great time just to get out there, be yourself, have fun, get together with friends, and celebrate who you are. And the fact, while it might not seem like it right now, we have come a long ways in the United States over the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So that is something we're celebrating and getting out there for Pride. How about we do a few rapid fire questions with Joe and find out a few fun things with him? I'm going to kick it off.
Okay.
And then you can roll as well. But I'm going to throw out ones that we haven't listed yet to start off. So, first one that I have is, what would be your favorite state to visit?
Oh, I haven't thought about this. This is maybe a little bit of a cop-out answer, to be honest, but I'm about to go to California for work, and I've never spent a lot of time in California, so I'm excited to explore it.
Awesome.
Gotcha. When you get to go outside and you're chilling and enjoying nature, what is your go-to trail snack?
This is also maybe a silly answer, but I love granola bars. Just a granola bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's more on par. We had somebody
classic.
Once that it was fried chicken, and I'm like, okay. And that's one of our board members too. I'm like, all right, never heard that one. Favorite nature spot that inspires you?
There's this park in Annapolis. It's called Quiet Waters Park. They also have a dog beach there where you can go and take your dog, and it's a gorgeous little hideaway here.
Oh, nice. That sounds cool, especially with dogs. Big dog fan. Is there an LGBTQ plus leader who inspires you?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go to a more local person, but
Sure.
there's somebody who works here in Maryland who provides gender affirming care for folks right now. She's an elder in our community. Her name is Deb Dunn, and she's been doing a lot of work to help, frankly, ensure that trans folks have access to gender affirming care.
Awesome.
And when I tell you the number of people that I meet in the community who are like, Deb Dunn saved my child's life, that's someone who I respect so much.
Nice. So important.
Love that. Any advice for LGBTQ youth who might be interested or have a passion for environmental work?
Yeah, reach out to people, get involved. I think a big part of success in your career is networking and knowing different people. And so you'd be surprised how many people I have gotten to know via social media that are doing some really cool things, and we keep in touch. So reach out to people, get to know people. You're not alone in this. And I know that social media isn't always positive, but I feel you can also build some really cool community through it.
Definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you have any current projects, campaigns, call to actions, anything that you want to give a shout out to that you want to make people aware of?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're working on at Green Latinos right now is a new project. It's going to be called our Frontline Defense Fund. And so that the goal of that fund as part of like the larger program that I manage is really to get to get money out to organizations that might be fighting like legal battles right now. And so if you go to greenlatinos.org and you search Defensive Fund, it'll take you to a page to donate. So I'm encouraging people to go and donate if they want to. And then, yeah, if you're in the Annapolis, Maryland area, our Pride is May 31st this year. And so we'll have a parade and festival. We have, I think, 260 community organizations that are going to be there. So it'll be a really great time. Yeah.
Nice.
Love that. Great stuff. And wrapping up, Patrick or Joe, either of you have any final thoughts?
Well, with all the many, many things that you do and many, many hats that you wear, please continue. Thank you. Also, get some sleep. Because I feel like all of your free time is spent making the world a better place, which, I mean, amazing. And again, thank you. But take care of yourself. I do hope that you're enjoying it because we need this. We need people like you for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No, I mean, I thank you all for having me. It's been great kind of connecting. And I was, as we were sitting here, I realized I have one of the LGBTQ plus sweatshirts and I should have worn it for this podcast.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
But yeah, like I've been connected with y'all for a while. I know I haven't really been to any of your events, but I'm excited to officially be connected and maybe I'll be at the Outdoor Fest this year. So
yeah.
Oh, awesome.
We're going to chat about that. I'd love to get you to come to that for sure. Very cool.
Welcome.
How can people find out about you and follow you and Green Latinos?
Sure. So Green Latinos, if you go on any social media, it's just at Green Latinos. If you're interested in following Annapolis Pride, it's just at Annapolis Pride. And then personally on social media, I think it's on all of them, but my handle is my last name, Toolan, TOOLAN _Joe. And that's where people can find me if they're interested.
That's awesome.
Sweet.
Joe, I want to thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, connecting with us, sharing about your passions and Earth Day. I hope that everybody gains some knowledge from this. And we are very excited to continue our relationship and see where things go in the future. Thank you for everybody that has listened today. We are so grateful that you are a part of the LGBTQ Outdoors family and checking out our podcast. And until next time, get out there. Thanks for listening to the LGBTQ Outdoors podcast. Catch past episodes on your favorite streaming platforms and connect with us on Instagram or Facebook by searching LGBTQ Outdoors. Support our mission by joining the Trailblazers Society at lgbtqoutdoors.com/trailblazers. To learn more about our local chapters, LGBTQ Outdoor Fest, adventure trips, or to sign up for our newsletter, visit lgbtqoutdoors.com. If you're enjoying the show, be sure to follow, rate, and review. It helps keep our mission going.